Yes. Okay, fine. Okay, so the next topic which we need to learn after studying the instruments is about the dimensions. Now, when we talk about the dimensions of any physical quantity, so we already know what are the physical quantities, how they are differentiated as your base quantities and derived quantities. Now, every quantity, if I talk about a derived quantity, so they are made with the combinations of your base quantities, wherein majorly we use your length, mass, and time. So while defining the SI system also, the system of units, there also we defined it as MKS, CGS, FPS, where majorly it was mass, length, and time to identify in terms of system. Similarly, for the dimensions as well, we are going to majorly focus on for your mass, length, and time. And along with that, if even the other remaining four base quantities are used, even that will be represented. So what they exactly going to define? They are just going to define the occurrence of a base quantity in the formation of a derived quantity. So in other words, we can also say that they define by the powers to which the base quantities are raised in forming a particular quantity. They will be represented in the form of m power x, l power y, t power z. So this just show how many times a particular base quantity is being used in a certain quantity, whether it is derived quantity, whether it is base quantity. So if I just go for the example, if I want to find the dimensions of force, so in the dimensions of force, first just try to write the formula for it. Once you know the formula, then you can write the unit for it. And then once you write the unit for it, then it is easy to represent in its dimensions form. Like simple example, if it is force, so we know force is written as mass into acceleration. If it is written as mass into acceleration, so you can either write the unit as Newton or you can write the unit as kg meter per second square, because the basic formula for force is mass into acceleration, because that we already know. Last year in Newton's second law, you might have derived that the force is written as mass into acceleration in your school syllabus. So using this, we can say that the mass is being used one time to define force. Length is also used one time and time is used two times, but the power is -2 because it lies in the denominator. Means the dimensions for force will be represented as m power 1, l power 1, t power -2. We can also write it as simply m l t -2. Means even if you don't substitute, even if you don't show the power 1, even that's correct. You can simply write it as mlt power -2. So both the representations are correct. Similarly, if I go for the dimensions of pressure, so anyone could help out for the dimension of pressure. what it will be. Yes, 7 of you. Okay. So Shiv says it's force upon area. Pressure can be written as by formula force by area. So force to be unit, we already know kg meter per second square. So if you already know the unit as kg meter per second square, I need to divide that by area. So this can be written as s power minus 2. Similarly, m power minus 2 because it is per meter square. And so that the final m power becomes minus 1 because here the power is 1, here the power is minus 2. You need to use your simple exponent property for the like terms. So the m power becomes minus 1. So directly I can say the dimensions of pressure can also be written as Pascal, or it can also be written as kg m power minus 1 s power minus 2, due to which the dimensions will become m1 l minus 1 t minus 2. That is the second example. Similarly, anyone, what about the dimensions of charge? Yes, your formula for charge. Yeah, correct, Shiv. So charge is written as current into time, IT. So in the form of dimensions, current is a basic quantity. It can be represented in your MLT representation. And for current, you use the letter capital A or capital I. Both you can use. So directly you get the unit as coulomb or ampere second. That is its unit. And the dimensions will be M0, L0, T1, I1. You can write the power as, you can use the letter I for your current, or else you can also use the letter capital A. Both the representations are correct. Similarly, the next example, what will be the dimensions of work or energy? Yes, correct, Shiv. So work is force into displacement. So force we already know kg meter second square. We need to just multiply meter to it. So if I talk about the SI unit, it is joules. And when you talk about the other form, that will be kg meter square per second square. Because work is also defined as force into displacement. So the entire unit will be multiplied by meter. Now the dimensions will become M1 L2 T minus 2. Similarly, for next example, what will be dimensions of potential difference? Yes, Shiv, you're correct. Okay, that means he is just defining that your potential difference, which is volt, the unit is volt. It is work done per unit charge. So it is written as work per charge. Means in terms of unit, if I write volt, that will be written as joule per coulomb. So joule, we already know the unit kg meter square per second square. Charge, we know it is as ampere second. Means you will get kg meter square, ampere raised to minus 1 and second raised to minus 3. Means second will become second cube in the denominator. This is a simplified form. I can just write it as volt or kg meter square, second raised to minus 3, ampere raised to minus 1. The basic formula is work upon charge. You can try to simplify that. That will be the dimensions M1, L2, T minus 3, I minus 1. or a minus 1. Similarly, one last example, dimensions of gravitational constant. In ICSE, there was a chapter, I think so, gravitation. Newton's law of gravitation was there. For ICSE. And if someone might have heard about it anyway, I can just give the formula. That the gravitational constant G is your force into distance square upon mass square. This is the formula. So using this formula, you can derive the gravitational constant. So force unit we already know, that is kg meter s minus 2 per second square. Distance will become meter square. So meter into meter square will become meter cube. And per mass square, that means per kg square. So 1 kg will get cancelled. So denominator will have 1 kg. Means mass is minus 1, length is 3, and time is minus 2. Yes, correct shape. So that means according to the formula, unit is Newton meter square per kg square. Once you substitute in it, you get kg power minus 1 meter cube s power minus 2. So you get the dimensions of g as m power minus 1 l power 3 t minus 2. So this is how you can find out the dimensions once you know the unit of any physical quantity. So any doubt related to whatever thing we explained till now? Just 1 minute, you can just go through it, just copy it or just take a screenshot of it. I'm just going to move the screen. Okay, I'm just moving forward. Now, once we have those dimensions, then we need to just study certain applications of these dimensions. So there are certain applications where we can use or we can take the help of the dimensions in simplifying certain things or improving certain things. So for the applications where we use the dimensions are usually called as dimensional analysis. So in that, the first application of dimensional analysis is to check the correctness of an equation dimensionally. So you're just checking the correctness of an equation dimensionally. We are not checking that whether the equation is mathematically correct. So there is a great difference between equation to be mathematically correct and equation to be dimensionally correct. So when I say an equation is dimensionally correct, that means what exactly to conclude? So that we'll just try to check. Suppose if I just take an equation or such as an example, v square equal to u square plus 2as. So that is your basic motion third equation. So first we need to find out how many terms are present in the entire equation. So we can clearly see one term is on the LHS and two terms are there on the RHS. So as per the correctness of the equation, I'm going to find out first the dimensions of every term. So first I'll find out the dimensions of v square, then u square, and then 2as. And we already know what are those notations used for. It was there last year for your school syllabus as well. U is your initial, V is your final, A is the acceleration, and S is the displacement. So if I go for the dimensions of V square, so V square velocity is meter per second, so square of that will be meter square per second square. So meter square per second square. So your mass is not included, so m power will be 0, L power will be 2, and T power will be minus 2. That is the first one for dimensions of V square. Next term is U square. So again, if I go for dimensions of U square, U is your initial velocity. The unit for initial velocity is meter per second, or L1 T minus 1. If I square it, that will become L2 T minus 2. Next term is 2as. Now 2 is not a physical quantity, so its dimensions will be m power 0, L power 0, T power 0. Because it is not any physical quantity, it's just a constant number. So it has no dimensions. Acceleration has a dimension, displacement has a dimension. Acceleration dimension is meter per second square. So L1 T power minus 2, and displacement has a dimension as L1. This is your acceleration and this is your displacement, and both are getting multiplied because it is A into S. 2 don't have any dimension because that is a constant, dimensionless value. Now if I just multiply, you can see the dimensions are represented as the power, so they will follow the rule of your exponents. So like terms multiply, powers will get added. Here also we will apply the same thing. So m power will remain 0, L power will be 1 plus 1, that will become power 2, and T power will be minus 2 plus 0. That means by simplification we'll get m0 L2 T minus 2. So you can see every term has the same dimensions. That means I can say dimensions of v square, u square, and 2as are equal, means it is dimensionally correct. If I would have written the equation as v square equal to u square plus as, see, even this equation is dimensionally correct. This equation is dimensionally correct, and both the equations are different. This is plus 2as and this is simply as. But even if they are dimensionally correct, the equation is not mathematically correct. When I use the term mathematically correct means if you substitute the values, you should get LHS equal to RHS. So not necessary that all dimensionally correct equations are mathematically correct. But all mathematically correct equations are dimensionally correct. So dimensions won't check the exact correctness, the mathematical correctness of an equation. It will just try to find out the correctness between the use of the physical quantities or the presence of any physical quantity inside the equation. So is the difference clear between dimensionally correct and mathematically correct? So again, I'm repeating the statement. All mathematical equations or all equations which are mathematically correct are dimensionally correct. But all dimensionally correct equations are not necessarily mathematically correct. And there's the example. The equations are dimensionally correct, but not mathematically correct. So any doubt on this? Any confusion between dimensionally correct, mathematically correct? Okay, so there is one more example. Just try to check whether it is dimensionally correct or not. Okay, so what type of questions will come under this? So now they are given already that it is dimensionally correct. So velocity of the particle depends upon time according to the equation. So they have already specified the depending equation. You need to find the values of A, B, C, and D. And once you find the dimensions, you need to just tell what physical quantities they might represent based upon their dimensions. So already velocity is dependent set means they are dimensionally correct. So tell me what is A, B, C, and D? You can just post the answer on the chat once you get. That's a hint you can remember. You need to identify the number of terms. Every term will have the same unit. Whenever you find plus minus in between, means the quantities connecting those, that operator will have the same quantity, will share the same quantity. Only then the two quantities are possible to add, subtract, or equate. So you just check your answer. I just find that you need to change that. Okay, not a problem. So I just help out if you all need. So first just try to identify the terms, because the terms will be only identified with plus and equal to. So this is one term, this is the second term, this is the third term, and this is entirely the fourth term. So all the four terms will share the same dimensions. Means if this is meter per second, so this entire thing will also be meter per second. This entire thing will also be meter per second, and this entire thing is also meter per second. So if I compare your fourth quantity, this one, fourth term, there you can find in the denominator, there is again plus, means two quantities are getting added. So only two same quantities or two like quantities can be added, subtracted as per the dimensional analysis. So if D and T are added, that means both the dimensions should be same. Both the physical quantities should be same. So we can just have that first comparison. So dimensions of D and dimensions of T are same. T is nothing but time, which is already specified over there. So if T is time, which is M0, L0, T1, so D will also be same. So first dimensions of D you got. Then second you target the last term C by D plus T. Or the dimensions of V will be same as the last term, because there are four terms with equal and plus in between. Every term should have same, the red circled. All red circled will have same dimensions. So I'm just equating the known with the unknown. The known is V, velocity. If I just compare this entire thing, I know the denominator represents seconds, which I already derived in the first case. It is t plus t, means both are same quantities which are getting added. So time plus time. So it is nothing but your time in the denominator. So now can I write your velocity is m0 l1 t minus 1 meter per second, and dimensions of c upon denominator is representing time. So that is m0 l0 t1. So from here I can calculate the dimensions of c. You just multiply this entire dimensions on the other side. When you multiply, the powers will get added, and you will get m0 l1 t0, because t power minus 1 and this is t power 1. When you multiply, powers become minus 1 plus 1 0. Next you can compare v and bt. So two unknowns we got, c and d. Now we can again compare the red circled one, the first red circled and the third red circled. The v dimensions we know, and dimensions of bt can be written as dimensions of b into dimensions of t, and t is your time again, m0 l0 t1. So dimensions of b, so this quantity will go on the other side to get divided. So t power minus 1 upon t power 1 will become t power minus 2. So you got dimensions of B as well. Now the last thing is left with A. So first and second red circle you can compare. So just to avoid confusion, I shifted the root because V and on the other side it is root AB. So you can write it as V square and on the other side is AB because they are just powers. So you can shift the powers just for the case of simplification, or you can keep the power as well over here as root. The answer will be same. So the dimensions of V square we know. So meter per second the whole square. AB. So that will be dimensions of A into dimensions of B, and dimensions of B we already calculated in third. So now dimensions of A will be simply both the things will get divided. T power minus 2 will get cancelled and we'll get the value of dimensions of A. So the physical quantity you can say your D represents time, your C represents length, your B represents acceleration, and your A represents length because they are specifying what physical quantities they represent. So I hope you all understood that if such type of question comes, what type of method you need to apply. Just you need to identify the terms, just compare the dimensions of those terms, and the identification will depend upon the sign in between. If it is plus or minus or equal to in between, that means both share the same physical quantity, both will share the same dimensions. So just go through once. If any confusion, any doubt you have, do let me know. You have 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes you can just go through it. If no doubt, I'll just move forward. Okay, so we'll just move for the next. So is the next example. Quickly let me know the answer. So according to the Laplace formula, there is one formula which we learn in sound. So ICSE kids might have learned in 9th standard in the chapter sound. There was something called as Laplace formula specified in the textbook. Even if you are not heard about it, it's okay, not a problem. So according to the Laplace formula, the velocity v of the sound in a gas is given by v is equal to root of gamma p by d. So that symbol is gamma, where p is the pressure, d is the density. So just find the dimensions of gamma. So Shiv and Bhagyesh are getting it as dimensionless. M power 0, L power 0 and T power 0. Any other answer other than that? Okay. So Shiv and Bhagyesh, you are correct. 100. So it will be dimensionless. It won't have any dimensions. You can just try to find out also like your velocity in terms of dimensions. And if I try to shift the square root on the other side, so that will be simply L power 2 T power minus 2 because mass is 0. On the other side, it is pressure by density. So that is symbol gamma, which is the unknown value. If I go for the dimensions of pressure, so that is nothing but M1, L minus 1 and T minus 2. Those are in the powers. Into if I talk about the density, that is kg per meter cube. So that is M1 L power minus 3. Both are getting divided. And here is that constant value gamma. If I just try to simplify this, that you will get it as L power 2, then T power minus 2 on the left hand side. And here it will be gamma times M and M will get cancelled. You will get L power 2 T power minus 2, which indicates that gamma will have dimensions as 0, 0, 0. So the gamma is dimensionless because this quantity will go on the other side, it will get cancelled. So any doubt in this question? Okay, I'm just moving forward to the next application. So that is your first application to dimensionally check the correctness, and if the equation is given dimensionally correct, you can find the value of the unknown dimensions, or the dimensions of the unknown quantities. Now the second application what we have, that is related to finding the relation between the quantities. So if you want to find out a relation between the physical quantities, when I say relation means whether quantity is depending directly on a physical quantity, whether it is depending indirectly, inversely. It depends upon square of a quantity, cube of a quantity, square root of a quantity, whatever. That is called as the relation. So that we can try to find out using the dimensions. So simple example now, what type of questions might come? The questions will be given in this form. Suppose if I take the time period of a simple pendulum depends upon the length of the pendulum and acceleration due to gravity. They specify us to find out the relation between them. So there is time period, there is length, and there is acceleration. Now we already know this formula. For an ICSE child, they know the formula, or else if you would have played the game in step app, there also you come across the formula for this time period of a simple pendulum. So we know that formula, but we are not going to derive a formula for it. We are just going to derive a relation for it. Now, what is the basic difference that will just come across once it gets completed, once you derive it? The first thing, what I need to do, I need to assume the variables for them. So I'll just assume, let the time period be considered as t, length be considered as l, and acceleration due to gravity be represented as g. Once I assume the quantities, now the entire statement I will convert in the mathematical form. So they tell the time period is depending upon the length. It depends upon the gravity. They haven't specified that it depends directly. It depends inversely. Means I don't know what is their power. If it is direct, the power will be positive. If it is inverse, the power should be negative because it comes in the denominator. That means I know that it depends on certain quantities, but whether direct or inverse, that I don't know. Means the powers will define whether it is direct proportion or indirect proportion or inverse proportion. So as per the given condition, you can write the time period depends upon the length and gravitation, but length I don't know whether direct or indirect, so I will assume some power as x, and for g I will assume a power as y. To remove the proportionality constant, so x and y are simple constants. So to remove the proportionality sign, I will bring a constant. Suppose I take a constant as k. So k is not any physical quantity, it's just a constant value which is dimensionless. And that is L power x, G power y. The next step, I will write the dimensions of every quantity. So dimensions of time I know, dimensions of length even I know, and dimensions of acceleration due to gravity, which represents an acceleration, even that I know meter per second square. Once you know all the dimensions, now just substitute those dimensions in the relation. So your given condition or given equation will be represented in form of dimensions as this is your t equal to k times dimensions of L the whole power x, dimensions of G the whole power y. Because k is dimensionless, so no need to write the dimensions of it because it is going to be 0, 0, 0. Then left hand side will remain same, and right hand side you need to apply the exponent property. So the power x will get multiplied inside to the powers. Here power y will get multiplied inside with the other powers. So that will become L power x, and in the second bracket that will be L power y and t power minus 2. Then again I can simplify it further. Left hand side there is 1, but on the right hand side, since it is multiplying, so you can add the powers. Again exponent property, same base multiply, powers gets added. Now if the two dimensions are equal, because we are equating them, so if the two dimensions are equal, that means the powers should also be the same on both the sides for individual quantities or for corresponding quantities. So I'll just equate the powers. So once you equate the power, the first equation I will get, if I equate the power of time, That is minus 2y equals to 1, which implies you get y value is minus half. When you equate the power of length, you get x plus y equal to 0, where x is minus y and y you got minus half, so x power you got is half. So you got the values of x and y. Now just take the relation which you took earlier. So you will get t is equal to k times L power x j power y, which we already assumed. In that, just substitute the value of x and y. Now minus half means it should be in the denominator. So that will be L half upon G half. L by G whole power half, and half is nothing but your square root. So you got T is equal to K times root of L by G. So see, you got a relation between the time period, length and gravity. But that is not the exact formula, because as per the formula, we know the value of K is equals to 2 pi. This formula we have for the time period of a simple pendulum. So using the dimensional analysis, we cannot get an exact formula, but we can correctly say the relation between the quantities. So if you had played the game, in the second part of the game, you might have seen they are given certain depending factors for time period of a pendulum. The time period depends directly on the square root of length, and time periods depends inversely to the square root of g, independent of mass, independent of amplitude of oscillation. So at the end, you got the relation, not the formula. So there is a great difference between the formula and the relation. So this is how you can convert the statement. So they will specify the statement in the exam, and you need to derive this relation. We'll have some constant k in it. So any doubt, kindly ask. Just go through it one more time. Anything you feel like asking, just let me know. Okay, so I think so. No doubts are there. Okay, so here's an example. Let me know what answer you get. Velocity of sound produced by a string depends upon tension in the string and its linear mass density. Derive a relation between them. Tension means its force. And when I say linear mass density, we represent it as small m. I'm just giving the meaning of it. And the tension will be represented as capital T for your simplification. And linear mass density is nothing but your mass per unit length. So now it will be easy for you to get the answer. Tension means force. Assume it as capital T. Linear mass density means small m, which is representing mass per unit length. Tell me the relation. So any answer? Yeah, Shiv, tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Nothing. I just did it, and I got the speed is equal to a constant times the square root of the tension divided by the mass
Yeah,
density.
it's correct. V root of T by M, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's correct. Okay, so he got the answer as V equals to constant times root of T by M. So anyone else have tried it? Okay. Okay, so I'm just discussing it, how we arrived to that relation or how we can just go for it. No, Bhagyeshri. Just need to rectify with the power. Try to cross check the calculations once. So once you assume all the variables, V as velocity, T as tension, M as linear mass density. So it is given as V depends upon T power X, M power Y. V equals to K times K is a constant, T power X, M power Y. Then we'll write the dimensions. V is velocity, meter per second. Tension is force, kg meter per second square. And your linear mass density is mass per unit length means kg per meter. So M minus 1, L minus 1. M1, L minus 1, sorry. Once you get all the dimensions, just substitute in the relation with power x and power y for T and M. Now the corresponding power will get multiplied inside their corresponding powers, corresponding quantity you can say. M power x, L power x, T power minus 2x, and second you will get M power y, L power minus y, T power 0. Once you get this relation, now right hand side you can just directly add the powers, simplify to single dimensions. You will equate on both the sides. So if you just compare the powers of time period, you will get the value of x as half. If you consider the power of mass, so you'll get x plus y equal to 0, from which y will be equivalent to your minus x, which indicates that y will be minus half. So you got x and y values. So directly, once I consider the relation, in that I will substitute the value of x as half and m as minus half, which directly states that it will be same. Minus half means in the denominator, whole power of means square root. So that will become square root of t by m. So that's the relation you will get. This is called as your velocity of sound obtained on a string whenever a spring oscillates between two fixed ends. And by unplugging it, we try to produce the sound. Example, your musical instruments, string based musical instruments. Example, guitar, violin. So whenever you plug the string, you displease, it starts vibrating, it produces a sound. So the velocity of the sound, which is produced by that particular string, which is under some tension force, because it is tightly attached between the two ends. And mass is nothing but the linear mass density of that particular string. So the wire is very fine wire, you can say the velocity of sound will be more. If the wire is thick, the velocity will be less. So any doubt on this? Bhagyashri, you understood your mistake where you made? Okay. So I hope both the analysis are pretty clear. I'm just clearing the screen. So here are a few examples based on it, along with example 3. So once these examples are done, we are done with our dimensions part. Means the second part of the chapter is also done. So quickly solve them so that we could end this particular part of dimensions. Okay, the Shiv has got the first. Yeah, it's correct, Shiv, for the example 3. For the example 3, Shiv is getting the answer as V equals to K times root of pressure by density. That's correct. That is called as actually your Newton's formula. Comes in sound. Okay, Bhagesh. Chalo, that's good. Let me know for the fourth one. Surface tension unit is force per unit length. It's not force. Surface tension is specifically force per length. Unit is Newton per meter. This is the second answer. Anything? Okay, for the example 4, it is coming as frequency equals to k times 1 by density into length cube into tension. Yeah, it's correct. So you should get density power minus 1, then length power 3. That is nothing but A specified. And your tension you're getting as power 1. Yeah, I'll just explain the fourth one. Shiv, have you took down the fifth question? I'm just changing this share of the screen. I'm just taking a whiteboard to explain the fourth one. Okay, fine. I'm just using the whiteboard then. So it depends upon density, length, and surface tension. Okay. Okay, Bhagyashri. So they have specified that the frequency is depending. So if I go for the dimensions of frequency, that is simply t power minus 1, because frequency is nothing but 1 by time period. That will be equal to k times. If I talk about the dimensions for your density, because the first term was density. So density is kg per meter cube. So that I can write m1 L power minus 3. T power will be 0. And the power will be whole raised to x. Okay, you got the answer, Bhagyashri. So I don't have to explain it. Okay, bro. Quickly tell me for the last two examples. Okay, so what the example 5 is getting m1l minus 1 t minus 2. For the dimensions of viscosity. So you just check the answer once for the coefficient of viscosity. I think so. The answer should be something e power minus 1. Try to recheck your answer once. Velocity gradient is your per second. Speed upon distance. Yeah, the velocity gradient is nothing but velocity per unit distance between the two layers. So it is your per second, the unit of velocity gradient. Meter per second upon meter. So that will be simply per second, s power minus 1. No. Delta Z means it is your distance between the two layers. When we talk about viscous force, the liquid is considered to have made up of certain layers. So it is between the movement or the frictional force existing between the two layers of liquid. So delta Z is nothing but the distance between the two consequent layers. So delta V by delta Z is nothing but velocity per unit distance. Okay, no problem. You just try to recorrect that. So as per that, then one time will get cancelled and you will get your answer. Okay. What about the sixth one? What answer you got? So you can just take the sixth one because it's time also done. So I don't want to waste the break time for yours because 7:30 the next lecture will start. You can just solve it and let me know on the group. Not a problem in that, whatever answer you get. So I hope the entire thing, conceptual dimensions, is understood by everyone. Okay, Bhagesh, got the answer. It's FA power minus 3. That is Bhagesh's answer. We'll just try to check that once. Okay, so we'll just meet in the next class next week. Till then, bye bye. Take care, guys. Thank you. God bless you all.